All right, so yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and mute you here so we can bring you in a little later. But yeah, my name is Justin Messina. I'm a health and lifestyle coach. I work with people around more of just having fun again in their lives and not so much, taking nutrition so seriously or taking diet so seriously and helping them like kind of shift how they think about things. And um, that's a lot of what I do with my background is in systems engineering. I have a master's degree in industrial and systems engineering, and then I transitioned into health coaching. And so I have a very systems-based approach to things. So I'm very strategic in the way I walk people through redesigning their life. And that sort of transitioned into some business as well, working with other coaches around that are health coaches and people in the lifestyle arena with practical solutions for marketing, blogging, things of that nature, so that they can streamline, get right to where they have to go, especially if they're startups, so that they don't have to go through a lot of the things that don't work, a lot of people selling things that aren't going to really push them forward in their business, all kinds of things like that. So with that said, enough about me. Hopefully you guys will get some good like pointers. I'm going to talk about some marketing triggers, like human triggers that people have that a lot of times people aren't aware of. But getting right into it, I want to first set this up by saying that I think there's this huge kind of epidemic going on where a lot of people like have this idea of what the business game is and what we're kind of naturally inclined to do based on how we go through school, what we're taught there, how other people do things, and we just kind of are subconsciously connected and taught to do things a certain way by how people do them, and that is to kind of seek out the information we want, um, and just think, okay, if we get the right information, if we apply it correctly, and we do this in a very optimal and high level performance way, then we'll get the results that we really want. And I think this is like a misrepresentation and sort of an epidemic that is out there that's not really the game. That could be the game for, I think it's a minority. It's a small amount of people that are already set up, their mindset set up, the way they go about life, they're set up that they can just, learn, apply, and see results. But there's this whole other side to things where things are going on in the mind in just automatic responses that if people don't become aware of them, you can get stuck somewhere, and no matter how hard you work, no matter how much willpower you have, it doesn't matter at all. You just can't get there. And obviously this is something I'm passionate about, but I want to share some of it so that you can see kind of how to use it in marketing. And it's nice to be able to present to you guys, because obviously if you're associated with Melissa, you're people who want to do good in the world, and you're not going to try to use like certain things, like a lot of marketers use it for bad, try to manipulate people and things like that. So it's good to be able to use this and to be able to help people for the good. So with that said, I want to go into the first point about, everyone is unique about in their life experience. Even the person in the world, if you could think of someone that is totally, different from you, you don't really understand how they think or why they act the way they do. But if you could just, think, if this person, if I had their life experience and I went through every experience that they went through, then, it's safe to say that I would probably think and act rationally and understand exactly what they're going through based on their experience. And I wanted to put this concept out there that human beings act rationally according to their experience, right? So as irrational as people can be, sometimes it's always rational within themselves, right? And on a bigger picture, when you're talking to people in a marketing sense or just a conversation networking sense, a lot of times you want to cater the individual conversation to what their individual, their, whether it's their personality or their needs or what they look for. That's all important. Then there's this other side of marketing to your niche market. Obviously, you're talking to a specific type of person, so you can easily do the same types of things. Um, what I want to go into is actually more of like the biological, how we evolved as humans, and then talk about how that relates to marketing. So basically, when it comes to the biological evolution, um, we evolved a lot more slowly, or we have biologically, than we have in technology and just getting things done as human beings. We still have old survival instincts. We have flight or fight response, things like that. And it's not all just survival, but it's things that make us safe in a less like life or death situation. But it's other things that just help us make decisions, help us take proper actions. But not all of those things are aligned with present day world, right? It's not going to always help us. It might hurt us in certain instances. And playing more in the subconscious, there's beliefs that can be in your way. If you're not aligned in a belief, meaning something that you hold true in your subconscious, whether it might be ridiculous subconscious on your conscious level, something like I'm not good enough, or something that could have started when you were a child. So I'm going to stop kind of going off on that tangent a little bit and try to give you guys something of value here. So when what I want to focus on is the triggers. So this is basically what the mass of people will do when they're presented with an offer, presented with a buying, decision, and things that are going to help them make decisions that, like I said, the masses of people aren't aware of these things. So if you ask someone about it, they would probably say, "Oh no, I make my own decisions. I have my own process." But experiments prove this, that with the things I'm about to go over. So I want to actually just share my screen so you guys can kind of follow along a little clearer as we go through these points. Okay. Melissa, can you see my screen right now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, so what we're gonna, like I said, what we're gonna focus on is these triggers that people use, just that every person has. Every person has this on some level. So number one, I want to go over the offer money scale. Like there's basically this scale when it comes to okay, sorry about that. There's basically a scale that I don't know what just happened, but can you still hear me?
Yeah.
All right, good. So when you have an offer put out there, you've probably heard you need to invest to grow. And there's a lot of times, right now I'm trying to go to the root of exactly what these triggers are and what these concepts are, because a lot of times we hear different versions of them, but they're not fully explained and kind of can't implement it that way. So a lot of times what we hear is you need to invest to grow, or when people invest, that's how they really grow quicker. And to really illustrate this, there's a scale, and the offer has to be so compelling on one side of the scale that it tips the scale and the money falls to you. And this is where you get a lot of objections, or people aren't ready to commit to a certain offer, and it's not because they don't have money, which is a very common thing that people will say. They don't have the money to do something. It's really an indication that the offer needs to get stronger. And what happens is, where people's hearts go, their money follows, and their level of investment with their money will equal their level of commitment. So there's a fine line between giving away services for free versus paid services, and the more that you charge, it can be a tricky thing, because you want to be able to help people afford what you have sometimes, some of your higher level services. But then if you're giving things away for less than they're actually worth, people aren't going to commit to it as well, especially when it comes to certain services where people are getting a result if when they have to put in, their own time and their own effort into something, the less they pay, the less effort they're going to actually put into it. So that's a key thing to remember, obviously. So I want to move on to the next two because they're more marketing related, very specific. And number two is people are risk averse, and even entrepreneurs. And there's been a lot of studies done on this where, given a choice, people will pick the secure option over the chance option, even if it's not logical with the math, right? Um, and when it when people are in a buying decision, they are highly aware of the risk of losing something versus the gain they're going to get. And what most people do when they market something, they talk about, oh, here's the benefits of this. Here's what here's what you're going to get from this, all like a checklist of things you get. But what people don't want to do is they don't want to lose something. So what they're doing more likely in that situation is they're thinking about what's going to happen if I buy this and the other product or service or idea that I could have got that's maybe a competitor. What do I lose in this transaction that I could have gained in the other? What's going to happen if this product becomes obsolete, or if this doesn't last for too long, the longevity of the product or service. And then also the money trade-offs. People are thinking about risk, but they're thinking about stress as well, which is highly related to risk for people. And that all happens during their decision to buy. So, some ways of trying to reduce risk in that buying moment for people is obviously to offer guarantees and to create as little risk or zero risk as possible. Money back guarantees for a certain time frame. Also, trials work as well. And another note is, if you decide you want to separate potential buyers from people who are just seeking free things from all the sources they can find, you're going to have to add a commitment with that. It's oftentimes online, it's easier to be able to give away free trials, free gifts, and not worry so much because there's not really a cost related to it. But obviously in person it might be different. So number three we have here is virtual ownership. And virtual ownership comes down to, you might have a free consultation or free gift online to enter a sales funnel. And what you can do with this is, there's this concept called the endowment effect. And basically it means that people want to keep what they already own, and they become attached to what they already own. And the concept behind it is that humans innately value what they own already more than what they don't own. So they wouldn't make a trade, all things equal, between two different products or services. They wouldn't make the trade that because of what they already own, even if sometimes the thing they're trading for is more valuable. There's some crazy studies with this where people value something, a ticket. There was a study about a ticket to a basketball game. People on a campus were paying. They wanted to sell their ticket that was in high regard for like $2,400 versus the people that actually wanted to buy it that didn't have it for about $200. So there's a huge gap with how people think when it comes to something they already own versus something they don't yet own. So, I'm going to get into what this means, like what you can do in a second, but I want to note first that this actually works the same whether someone owns something or if they have the perception of actually owning something. And this is why things like car test drives are so popular, because a lot of times the person selling the car has to do a lot less of sales work, because the person can get in the vehicle, drive it around, and actually feel like they own it. They're touching and they're putting the gas pedal to the floor, and they're seeing everything. They're seeing all the features. They're using it. It becomes part of them already, and it becomes very powerful in their minds about this idea of this imagination that they own it. So if you can get prospects to imagine owning your product or service or idea, and whether you can actually get them to imagine it, or if you could actually get them in the experience, because it really helps. This is a sub-study on the same effect. is that physically touching and holding, um, even more so than just imagining, gets a positive result. So this is really a really good illustrations of why when people hold back giving away really powerful free value, it really hurts them. The more you can give away that's really great value, where people can actually see a result from what you do, is very powerful. And going back to the, if you have free consultations for coaching, or if you can do some sort of free consultation, or give them some sort of product or service that gives them a result that they can actually take with them, or they can work with you and they can get a result before they actually have to commit to anything, then that can be very powerful, because then they believe in it and they feel invested in it and they feel like it's part of that, they're involved in it, and they sense an ownership. Other ways that this can be used is, if you're in the online world, or if you can relate this to something similar, you can use full access trials. So if you see, sometimes I know Constant Contact, an email service provider, has a full access. I think it was 45 or 60 days. You can use their service without paying for anything. You don't even have to give them a credit card, I don't think. So it's a really great way for people to totally see exactly what it's about before they have to commit at all. And then once they're there, they'll stay hooked on it more often than not. And actually, I want to go into like a subset of this virtual ownership point, is that if you do have something where you can have someone trial something out, you can actually get them into something. Say you do the Constant Contact model, where you have someone have a credit card, and you do ask for the credit card. You don't let them go through without the credit card. And you say, okay, this is a 60-day trial, and once the 60 days is up, your credit card will be charged if you don't cancel. That's very powerful as well, because there's another kind of marketing trigger that I didn't write down, but I'm just going to share with you anyways. We're getting a little late on time here, but I just want to say that if you can get someone to do something where they have to cancel, or they have to take an action to stop the process, that's really powerful as well, because people will not necessarily act out of what's already in place. The same thing, if you own something, you don't want to give it back. If you can keep what you already have, even if it means paying more money, or if it's not necessarily going to be the best thing in the world for them, a lot of times they'll go along that route versus going the other way of canceling. So that can be very powerful as well. And if you can't let someone experience the product by physical touching, then you can be a storyteller. You can embed asides into your messaging, into your copy, whether it's website or on your flyers or whatever it is, and take these journeys with them. Like, say, imagine if you could do this and this, and put them into a story rather than just outlining, here's what's good, here's what's bad. If you don't do this, you can actually get them really invested just using storytelling. So that's pretty much it, Melissa. If do we have any more time or no?
Yeah, you can have a few minutes.
I can't really hear you. Can you say that again?
Yeah.
All right, I got one more point I wanted to add too. I'll just throw this in as a fourth point, and that's it's kind of related to risk averse, but it's this avoiding loss versus seeking a gain. And people will do anything to avoid a loss, and they don't really care about the benefit of something as much as, what is this going to stop me from doing? If you can look at people, really successful businesses, a lot of times on their homepage they'll actually have, if it clearly outlines what a service does, a lot of times they'll have something like, stop the stress of contacting clients over and over again. Or if you know your market very well, what people are struggling with. In the health coach example, for instance, if you're a health coach and you're going to say, if you take on this program, for 3 months or 6 months, here's what you'll get. You'll get this and you'll get this, and you'll feel great about yourself, and you'll recreate how your life, how your life structure is, and you'll be able to never have to diet again. Well, that doesn't hit as much as you said, if you don't do this, having a coach, not if you don't have a coach, you can't really get anywhere because the most successful people in the world have coaches. Tiger Woods has a coach to make him the best golfer in the world. On and on and on. And if you don't do this, imagine I mean, there's lines here where you don't want to get too wordy, because if you get too wordy, people see you for being fake, and you just want to make sure you're being sincere about what you're saying. But you could say things like, don't face another summer of embarrassment by going to the beach and not wanting to wear a bathing suit, or not wanting to take off your shirt. And things like that hit people a lot harder than if you just say, have a great beach body when you go to the beach, So, let's see if I got anything else here. Yeah, so like wording with that is like, if you can free someone from something, or if you can escape from this, relieve stress about that. Those are good words as far as that. And think of the negative emotions, right? There's like I think, I don't know where it's from, but there's like a list of positive emotions and negative emotions. And if you could just think of negative emotions and think of what people that you work with feel on a regular basis, how can people get rid of those negative emotions? That can be very powerful as well. So that's pretty much it, Melissa.
Thank you.
All right. I hope. I know it's weird because I can't see anybody there, but I hope you understood value. This will be recorded. I'll send it to Melissa, and you guys can look over it again. And thanks for being here. It's fun.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good one, Melissa. Talk to you soon.